I'm sure most of you at least heard of the Baltimore Ravens, but some may not know more or much more than that they just won the Super Bowl. I'm going to let you guys know a little bit more about them, such as the team's history, some of the popular players they've had, and the titles that they've earned through the years. They started their team as the Baltimore Colts in 1953, and they were the Colts up until the team moved to Cleveland. But they moved back to Baltimore in 1996, and they were named the Ravens because Edgar Allan Poe was from Baltimore, so they named it after his poem. They began building the stadium in 1966, and it was ready in a season or two. The first season they ended with a 4-12 record, which is a very good, and they had the worst defense in the whole NFL for the year. They ended their second season with a record of 6-9-1 though, which is a little bit better. In the 1998 season, the stadium was ready to play, and they lost their first game in this stadium to the Steelers, which is kind of ironic because that's their biggest rival. And in 1999, they got a new coach, Brian Billick, and they thought he was going to be really good, but then they lost to the Rams by 20 points. So it kind of looked bad for him. And according to the Baltimore Sun, in 2003, the M&T Bank bought the rights to name the stadium for 15 years for $15 million. And then in 2008, John Harbaugh became the coach, and he was prior the Eagles coach and took over for Brian Billick. Now I'm going to tell you guys about some of the famous players that they've had. They currently have no Hall of Famers that have played on their team, but this year they're going to have Jonathan Ogden put into the Hall of Fame as the first Raven. And he's played since 2000 as a left tackle. Another famous player is Ray Lewis, which I'm sure most people know about. He's a linebacker and had played for 17 years and just retired after this year. He is a 13-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year of the NFL. And some people say he is possibly the best linebacker ever in the NFL. A lot of people know him because of the dance that he did when he came out of the tunnel for the games. One other player is Michael Orr, which I'm sure most people know from The Blind Side. And he was drafted in 2009 and played all 16 games for the season and helped them get to the playoffs that year. One last player I'm going to tell you guys about is Joe Flacco. He's the current quarterback, and he was kind of an underdog this year, but became the MVP of the 2012 Super Bowl, and has been playing since 2008. And the last thing I'm going to tell you about is the championships. They've only won 2 Super Bowls since they began their team. They won 2000 and then 2012 this past year. But other than that, they've won 2 AFC titles in 2000, 2012, 4 North Division titles, 2003, 2006, 2011, and 12. So I hope I've told you guys a little bit more about the Ravens that you didn't know.